Y'all are not seeing the vision because Ibrahim Traoré wants to unite all African countries under one roof and call them the United States of Africa. And now you realize why they want to get rid of him. May Allah protect Ibrahim Traoré at all costs. But
hi lovelies, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, you're welcome to Building the Verse. Don't forget to please subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so that anytime I upload a video, you will be the first person to be notified. To my returning subscribers, to those people that share my videos, leave commentaries, and also educate each and every one of us, you guys are the real MVP. Alright lovelies, let's dive into today's video.
Ibrahim Traoré has good news for Africa and the Africans. Please, let's listen to this. Thank you very much. Let's listen to it.
One passport, United States of Africa. From today, we begin building a single African passport. It will be called the Afro passport. At the top, it will say United States of Africa. And below, it will show your country of origin, for example. United States of Africa, Ghana. United States of Africa, Senegal. United States of Africa, Ethiopia. This passport will allow any African to move freely across all 54 countries. No more visa walls. No more border harassment. No more shame. We are family. How can a brother ask his sister for a visa? Any country, even America or Europe, that refuses to accept the Afro passport will be excluded from our hearts, our markets, and our future. We will say, you reject our people, we reject your politics. One economy, free trade for Africans. We are creating one strong African economy. No more borders in trade. No more taxes between African countries. No more waiting for permission from foreign powers to do business with our neighbors. Why should a farmer in Mali struggle to sell tomatoes in Niger? Why should a mechanic in Togo suffer just because the factory is in Ghana? From today, all African goods will move freely across Africa fast, easy, and tax-free. We will sell to each other first before begging others outside. One money, the Afro money. Our new currency will be called Afro money. Say it with me, my people. Afro money.
Afro
This
money.
currency will not be printed in Paris. It will not be controlled in London. It will be ours, printed in Africa, owned by Africans, backed by African gold, oil, gas, lithium, and ideas. Each note of Afro money will celebrate our countries. We have 54 countries, so 54 notes, each one showing the beauty, history, and culture of one African nation. Imagine holding a 20 Afro note with a picture of Rwanda, a 50 Afro note with the pyramids of Egypt, a 100 Afro note with the lions of Tanzania. This is how we celebrate each other, not fight each other. Some African leaders are not happy with this plan. I will not name them for now because I still believe in unity and diplomacy. But I say this, if you love your people, join us. If you love your country, join us. If you love Africa, then you must stand for unity. We are not asking for charity, we are asking for dignity.
Yeah.
We are not dreaming, we are doing. Let me ask you now, do you support the Afro Union?
Yeah, I do.
If you believe no African should suffer, again stand with us. We are building a new Africa, not tomorrow, not next year, but starting now. Let the wind carry our message from Cairo to Cape Town, from Dakar to Dar es Salaam. Africa is rising.
Yeah.
And we are rising together.
Yeah.
Afro
definitely.
Airlines, Fly Africa, Love Africa. My dear brothers and sisters, it is often cheaper to fly from Lagos to Paris than from Lagos to Bamako. That is not normal. That is not acceptable.
Not at all.
So we are launching a new airline owned by all of Africa.
Yeah.
It will be called Afro Airlines. This will be our official continental carrier with affordable tickets for every African students, workers, mothers, elders. No more 600 flights just to visit your neighbor. Afro Airlines will fly to every African capital.
Yeah.
And you know what the slogan will be? Fly Africa, love Africa.
Wow.
It will connect our people, our artists, our traders, our families. We will train African pilots, we will employ African engineers. The jobs will stay here, the money will stay here, and the pride will grow here.
Yep.
We are no longer going to wait for foreign airlines to carry us within our own land. Free housing, a home for every African. Now listen carefully.
Great vision.
No African will
President.
sleep on the street again. Not in Nairobi, not in Niamey, not in Nouakchott. We are building free, clean, modern homes for every African citizen, young and old. Every mother, every child, every elder deserves a
Wow,
roof above
wow,
their heads.
wow. Great vision, Mr. President. What a vision you have for Africa and the Africans. We are so proud of you. Please, may the Almighty continue to strengthen you and give you more wisdom to fight for the entire Africans and Africa. Thank you very much. Please, what do you think about his vision for Africa? What do you think about his mission for Africa? Please, let me see your comment in the comments section. Thank you very much. Todo Rubber.
This video is for any black person quite literally anywhere in the world does not already have an African citizenship. Right now, Benin is doing this thing called the My Afro Origins Law, where if you can prove in some way in your DNA that you have some African ancestry from the transatlantic slave trade or any type of slave trade where your ancestors came from Africa and were taken to a completely different place, you can get Benin citizenship, therefore having you African citizenship. That's super cool.
So there you have it. I have gotten numerous, and I mean numerous, messages from people asking me how they want to start moving to Africa. They want to start moving to Africa. There you go. There you go. All you have to do is get a DNA test. You just need any percentage of African in you. Get a DNA test, which will prove once you show your DNA, you don't have to be from Benin. You just need to be from any part of Africa. That's what Ciara used to get her citizenship. That's literally the exact same thing that Ciara used to get her citizenship. I think it's Ciara, right? Yeah, I believe it's Ciara, but some very big name female artist recently went to Benin and got her citizenship, and that is exactly what she did. So get a DNA test, hit up the Republic of Benin, B-E-N-I-N, not the city in Nigeria, the country Benin. Hit up Benin Republic, any of the embassies, contact them and say, hey, I did my DNA test and I am looking for a path to citizenship. You know, I'm just reaching out. Can you let me know what the next steps are? And they'll let you know what you got to do, and boom, you send in your DNA test proving that you are African, whatever it is they require of you, and boom, you get your citizenship. Once you have your Benin passport, if you don't want to live in Benin, you want to live in Kenya, at least you have your Benin passport. From there, you can take it there. From there, you can take it to the next level, but there you go. At least that's one of the countries that does it. Benin does it. I believe Ghana does it. Burkina Faso does it. For those of you, I'm sure you're going to want Burkina Faso because Ibrahim Traoré. Burkina Faso does it. So there are a few African countries, but you're just going to have to prove that you are indeed African. Of course, you know, you nigga Indians, y'all can have your country. Because I know Charlie Kirk died and they tried to come for your school. So you wanted us to leave you and your whites alone. We're going to leave y'all.
This is not financial advice. This is black people advice. If you are not thinking about investing in Africa, I really have nothing to say to you. It's sorry for you, because Africa is growing at like the most alarming rate ever. And I feel like people don't understand what's happening, especially if you're not going out and looking for news on the different rules that are happening, the different things that the government that they're trying to do to ensure that people are creating employment opportunities. Like, there's so much growth. Senegal and Ivory Coast is amongst the top fastest growing economies in the entire world. Let that sink in, because I feel like sometimes people don't get it. Africa is a great time to invest in, and it doesn't matter what industry you're looking at. It doesn't matter if you don't even want to do early stage startups. It doesn't matter if you just want to do small to medium sized businesses. There is opportunity to eat. A lot of times we talk about Africa as just one little place. I want people to recognize that Russia could fit in Africa 2 times and there's still space over. The map does not properly depict the size of Africa, let alone do you understand the amount of countries that are in Africa and how different they all are. There's so many opportunities there. And I just want us that are abroad, but even those that are within Africa, to be able to see the beauty and the fortune of what we have. And if we don't come and save us, nobody's going to come and save us. In fact, they will just continue to pick our resources and pick our money. Why do you think France is failing right now economically? Africa was holding France up all this time. With that being said, if you are in the diaspora and you are interested in learning, I need you to follow me and even DM me, because I'm just open to telling people stuff. Like, at this point, ain't no ebook, ain't no nothing like that. I just want our people to own more stuff, to be rich, to be able to write our own history. And I know this was a long video and I'm sorry, but I just really needed y'all to know. Hop on a trend, make sure you can invest in the stocks, you can invest in everything that you want to, but the next billionaires, they're going to be made because of Africa, because they put Africa in their investment strategy. So don't miss out.
Ah, yes, Africa. What many to this day think is still just one country. Where do we begin with this news? Well, a good start is with this man, Ibrahim Traoré, the 37-year-old president of Burkina Faso, an East African country. He has become Africa's most vocal champion of continental unity and independence from Western influence. Naturally, European leaders hate him and his guts and can't stop going on about how he is a military man and not a democratic leader at all. There's not a vote in sight. We hate him, right? Remember, for the Western powers, democracy is one of their most treasured values, unless people choose for themselves something that does not benefit the West. In that case, here, have this dictator who's a more in line, you guys aren't ready yet to vote and, choose your own future. We, the enlightened West, will help you out until you're ready. We'll help you out. Democracy, essentially, as long as you choose correctly. There is a correct. Just like how everyone is equal, but some are more equal than others. Now, Traoré is having none of that. Despite over 10 assassination attempts on his life, he continues to live and surrounds himself with loyal supporters. Burkina Faso, as we'll talk about in future videos, I've talked about Burkina Faso for months though, but it's making more and more headlines more and more frequently. We'll talk about in future videos. Burkina Faso as a state is undergoing huge reforms and decoupling from France, its former colonial master. France, if you didn't know, once had a huge colonial empire, especially in East Africa.
Really sorry, I meant West Africa. My brain is fried after working all day.
Countries leaving ECOWAS, a Europe-leaning union, or abandoning the CFA franc, the currency that ties African states that use that currency to the French economy, for better or worse. Some people say it's for stabilization. Yeah, sure, but it's a subservience mechanism. Or in the case of Traoré and Burkina Faso, the breakaway from Europe, the decoupling is a lot more noticeable and a lot more significant. Traoré has proposed publicly, just in the last couple of days, a United States of Africa with revolutionary feature suggestions, right? Feature requests. One government system, a unified currency called Afro money, and a single African passport allowing free movement across the continent. Think EU, but bigger and African. For the mutual prosperity of all Africans. Actually, no. Think United States. And you know how there's states like Florida and Texas, and they have governors, and they sort of have different characteristics compared to other states. Well, in the United States of Africa, each country would become a state, right? But here's what makes this significant, this idea, beyond just another political proposal that's very unlikely to go anywhere. Traoré isn't just talking, he is acting. Since taking power in 2022, he's expelled from the country he currently controls, because he doesn't have all of Africa in his hands, but he does have Burkina Faso. And he's expelled French troops that have been occupying or peacekeeping in the region. He's nationalized the gold mines, bringing billions back to the state and therefore the people. And he's formed the Alliance of Sahel States with neighboring countries Mali and Niger. All three of them just yeeted themselves out of ECOWAS, which is, as I mentioned, a sort of Europe-aligned East African Union. And he's built the Alliance of Sahel States as a stepping stone towards broader East African integration, eventually, potentially, Pan-African integration across the whole continent. Now, a shocking truth that most people don't know is how a lot of African infrastructure on the continent, especially related to extraction of mineral wealth, which is huge in Africa, a lot of the infrastructure and the wealth is owned by foreign companies, foreign people, and foreign states like France and the UK. Nationalizing something, which I mentioned earlier for Traoré and his Burkina Faso gold mines, nationalizing essentially means bringing it into the control of the nation, the state. Means to take the gold mines in Burkina Faso, pull them and their profits under the Burkina Faso state from where whoever was owning them, probably a foreign entity. The profits then don't go to, the pockets of Jean-Pierre or Patrice in Paris or wherever they're sitting pretty, but rather they go to the Burkina Faso state to be spent on the people and the country. And that's just one example, right? Because this is TikTok. I can't go through all of them. Now, back to this idea of a United States of Africa. His vision, Ibrahim Traoré's vision, resonates with millions of young Africans who have seen decades of economic exploitation despite sitting on vast mineral wealth. We're talking tens of trillions. What is this? Anyway, sorry. While many African leaders remain skeptical about surrendering sovereignty of their country to this sort of weird pan-African foreign idea, Traoré argues that only unity between African states can break the cycle of Western control over African resources. The question isn't whether his plan is realistic. It's not at all. It's as realistic as calling for a globe-spanning Muslim world unified under one state, or as realistic as calling for a unified Indian subcontinent. You know, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, they just get together and sing not Kumbaya, sing da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. That's Dilwale Dulhania Le Jayenge. Anyway, it's not about being...
What are we witnessing right now in Africa is nothing short of revolutionary. Ibrahim Traoré, the young captain who rose to power in Burkina Faso, is not just leading his country. He has become a symbol, a spark, a threat to the old order that has kept Africa divided for centuries. And if you are paying close attention, you can see why the world powers fear him. Because this is not just about one man. This is about an idea, the idea of a United States of Africa. Let's pause here. For over 60 years since independence, African leaders have talked about unity. Pan-Africanism, one Africa. Kwame Nkrumah shouted it from the rooftops in the 1960s. Muammar Gaddafi pushed for it again in the 2000s. Both men were silenced, ridiculed, and eventually crushed. Now, Ibrahim Traoré and a wave of African leaders are picking up that same vision, and this time they are doing it with fire in their voices and urgency in their hearts. Traoré's message is clear. Africa must unite, not tomorrow, not next year, but now. One passport for Africans, one currency for Africans, one airline for Africans, one housing system that guarantees dignity for every citizen, an economy that prioritizes trade within Africa before begging outside powers for permission to eat. Why does this matter? Because Africa today is a continent rich in resources but poor in unity. We have gold, oil, diamonds, cobalt, lithium, uranium, cocoa, coffee, you name it. The minerals that power your smartphone, your Tesla, your laptop, your solar panel, they come from Africa. Yet Africans remain among the poorest people in the world. Why? Because every country is divided, every border is policed, and every trade routine is taxed and controlled by outside interests. Now imagine removing those walls. Imagine 54 countries functioning as one market of the political blood, one identity that is what the Afro passport promises. And this is why the powers that are shaking. Think about it. Today, if a farmer in Mali wants to sell tomatoes to Nigeria, he faces border taxes, endless checkpoints, bribes, paperwork, and delays. By the time the tomatoes arrive, they are rotten. But under the Afro Union plan, those borders dissolve. Goods move freely. A mechanic in Togo can sell to Ghana without permission from Paris. A tailor in Senegal can supply clothes in Kenya without paying colonial-style fees. That is freedom. That is dignity. And then there is the Afro money. This is perhaps the most dangerous part of the plan. Dangerous not to Africa but to the global financial system that strives on African weakness. Today, many African countries still use currency tied to Europe. The CFA France, for example, is literally guaranteed and controlled by France. That means a farmer in Burkina Faso has his money printed in Paris, and his country's reserves are held hostage in French banks. This is model-day economic slavery. This Afro money changes that. One African currency printed in Africa, controlled by Africans, backed by African resources, gold, oil, lithium, gas, each note celebrating African culture, history, and pride. Imagine a 20 Afro note with Rawada's mountain, a 50 Afro note with Egyptian pyramids, a 100 Afro note with Tanzania's lions. That is more than the money. That is identity. That is sovereignty in your pocket. But do you know what happens when you try to create your own money, your own independence? The empire strikes back. Look at Gaddafi. He tried to launch a gold back dinner for Africa. Suddenly, Lato jets filled the sky and Libya was bombed into chaos. Nkrumah spoke about United States of Africa and his government was overthrown in the coup backed by the CIA. Patrice Lumumba dreamed of true independence for Congo and he was assassinated, his body dissolved in acid. The pattern is always the same. When Africans dare to dream of unity, they become targets. Now, Traoré knows this. He knows the risks. That is why his face is often hidden, why his security is tight, and why his words spread like wildfire. He's not just speaking for Burkina Faso, he's speaking for Africa. And whether you are in Lagos or Los Angeles, in Nairobi or New York, you should understand why this message matters, because this is bigger than Africa. Let me explain. The global order depends on Africa staying weak. Cheap resources flow out, expensive goods flow in. Africa stays poor, the West stays rich. It's not just history, it's economics. For example, it is often cheaper to fly from Lagos to Paris than from Lagos to Accra, just across the border. That is not by accident, that is by design. Foreign airlines dominate African skies, foreign companies dominate African markets. Even African leaders often stash their wealth abroad instead of building at home. Now picture Afro Airlines, a continental carrier owned by Africans for Africans, flying to every African capital at affordable prices. No more paying $800 just to visit your neighbor. No more being stranded while foreign airlines dictate the routine. Afro Airlines means Afro students can travel. African traders can connect, African families can unite. That is why the slogan is powerful. Fly Africa, love Africa. Do you see the picture now? Passports, money, airline, trade, housing, these are not separate projects. They are one grand vision, the Afro Union, a new Africa. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Not every African leader support this. Some are against it because their power depends on division. Some are against it because they fear foreign backlash. Some are simply too corrupt to imagine a future where the people rise above them. Traoré himself admitted he will not name them yet because he believes in diplomacy, but the silence of some leaders is telling. This raises the bigger question: will Africans unite or will history repeat itself? Will this new movement be crushed like the dreams of Nkrumah, Lumumba and Gaddafi, or will this generation rise and say enough? This time we will not be stopped. Black Americans, listen carefully. This is why you should care. Because every time Africa rises, the whole black world rises. Your ancestors were taken from Africa. Your struggle in America is tied to Africans' weakness. When Africa is seen as poor, divided, corrupt, that image is used against you too. But if Africa stands tall, if Africa united, strong, respected, then your identity, your heritage, your power in the West also rises. This is why they don't want you to pay attention. They don't want you to see Traoré. They don't want you to hear about Afro passports, Afro money, Afro airlines, because unity is contagious. If Africans unite across 54 countries, what stops black people in America and the Caribbean, in Europe from uniting too? So yes, they want to get rid of him, not because he is just a soldier in Burkina Faso, but because he represents a threat to the world order. A young man standing up and saying, we are not asking for charity, we are asking for dignity. We are not dreaming, we are doing. That sky is key. Africa has dreamed long enough. Now it is time for action. But action comes with sacrifice. Are Africans ready for that? Are Africans ready to stop worshipping foreign gods and start buying from each other? Are leaders ready to give up their small thrones for a larger kingdom? Are people ready to protect leaders like Traoré when the empire comes knocking? Because, make no mistake, the empire will come. Already we hear whispers of destabilization. Already we see media painting him as a dictator, as dangerous, as radical. They always do this. They demolish before they destroy. And the saddest part is sometimes they succeed because Africans themselves believe the propaganda. But this time feels different because Traoré is not alone. Mali is with him. Niger is with him. Guinea is with him. A bloc is forming in West Africa, defying France, rejecting the CFA, building alliances with each other instead of begging outside. And beyond West Africa, the idea is spreading. The Afro Union is not a fantasy. It is happening. piece by piece. It will not be easy, it will not be smooth, but the money is real, and that is why we must talk about it, amplify it, protect it. So when you hear Afro passports, don't laugh. Think of your freedom to move across a continent without visa. When you hear Afro money, don't dismiss it. Think of your wealth being backed by Africans' gold, not foreign debts. When you hear Afro Airlines, don't roll your eyes. Think of their ability to fly anywhere in Africa affordably. When you hear Afro housing, don't mock it. Think of your children having dignity, a home, a future. This is the vision Traoré and others are pushing, and this is why they fear him. Because a united African cannot be controlled. A united African cannot be humiliated. A united Africa becomes the greatest black power on earth. Now I ask you, do you support it? Do you believe no Africa should beg for a visa to visit his neighbor? Do you believe no Africa should print his money in Paris? Do you believe no Africa should pay Europe to fly within Africa? Do you believe no African child should sleep without a home? If you do, then you see why this matters. This is not just politics. This is survival. This is dignity. This is destiny. And whether you are in Burkina Faso, Brooklyn, Bristol, or Brazil, this is your fight too. Because the liberation of Africa is the liberation of all black people. And the attempt to silence leaders like Traoré is not just about Africa. It's about keeping the black world weak, divided, and voiceless. But if we unite, if we amplify, if we defend, then maybe, just maybe, this time we will be different. Maybe this time the dream of United States of Africa will not die. Maybe this time it will rise.
And if you have watched up to this extent, thank you so much for all the love and support. Don't forget to please leave me your own thought in the comment section of what you think of this video. And please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. Alright, lovely. See you when I upload the next video.